Well, as per the sleeves rolled up, guys, welcome back to the Totally Awesome Fishing Show. I have done my night session. Absolutely, outrageously, unbelievably good. Slow to start with, but man alive, it kicked off. Carp session, a good big carp session. You're going to have to watch the film to find out, because I am now awake. I've had about an hour's sleep. It's 8:45 in the morning and I'm going to be baiting up close in here. I was going to go right down there. I had a bream last night about yay big on a boilie, which is unusual. So I'm just about to fill in there, have a doze, have some breakfast, and then I'm going to wind that carp rod in and try in there, because there was so much fishing close in there. It was unbelievable. And then this Dave came round and told me, you know, it's tough on the bream. You've got to be right up there on the match stretch, which I don't want to move everything, do I? So I might actually, if I don't get any bream there, pack up and we'll see if we can't get some carp, small ones, you know, small ones, 4 or 5 pounders, close in on the feeder with the bobbins. And the bobbins are made from hair grips. Well, it's got to be different, haven't I? Let's get this bait in. Now I've made this ground bait a bit wetter because I want the fish to come on it quicker. Going to whiz a few of these 8 mils. Here come the geese. $5,000 of them. They're like £15 weight each of confetti coming down. Here they come. What a god awful racket they made last night. Now, while that works, I'm going to leave the carp rods there. Oh, they're gone again. Good. Well, hopefully that works. I'm going to try and grab 30 minutes. That's all I want, just a doze. It's like a plague. I'm going to grab about 30 minutes dozing, and then wheel that one in, wheel the other one in, leave one carp rod out, and see if we can't get a bream. Failing that, pack up, clear up, then lunchtime and try a couple of hours on the other lake. Does it sound good to you? Sounds good to me, especially that 30 minutes bit. But I'm furious it took me so long to get. It should take an hour. It took me about 2 hours, 10 minutes. Every road I go down now in the UK seems to have road closed ahead. Have you found that? Everywhere, road closed ahead. Traffic lights, queues, diversion. Well, I followed all the diversion signs. They took me 180 degrees the wrong way. So I've had to go back on the M25 all the way around. What a living nightmare. So I really am late starting. So basically I've got myself all set up, and this is what I've got rigged up for the afternoon and the evening and the night and tomorrow. I'm going to be using a swim feeder setup and probably a segment of worm together with a piece of sweet corn. I'm putting some ground bait out there. I've already put a couple of balls in each of the swims I want to carp fish, but I'm also going to put a boilie down this left hand side just here. I don't know if you guys can see that, just by the side of that bush, because I did good there last time. When it got dark, admittedly, just before dusk. I might get a rare daytime carp for me. I've got a couple of different feeders here. Look, I've got that one, which you squeeze a ball of ground bait around, and now that is just a straight sliding swim feeder that comes down, hits a shot, Then I've got my looper line, and I've got a hook link down here to, I'm going to call that about a size 12 barbless. It's one of those grips hooks that's got a loss. It's not completely smooth, so if I've got a worm, hopefully it doesn't come off. The trouble with barbless hooks is they come off. I find this is pretty good because they've got a weight, an integral weight moulded into the plastic there as well. The same setup here, but with a different type of swim feeder. It's got the weight on the back there, so you can put maggots in there and they come out through the holes. A shot to stop it, a loop, my hook link down to about a size 12 again, and bait. Well, bait, complicated. Got some of these guys. Well, I've got a lot of these guys. Dave had some left over and said, you want to try them, Graham? I'm going to try these worms. They're quite a big worm, but they're due for bream, and I can always, his tip is cut them in half, so I can scissor some of those up for ground bait. Lovely little worms there. So if I run out of food, I know what I can eat. Got a standard sweet corn here. Now I buy them in the freezer packs. I don't bother with the tins anymore. They're so cheap to buy with a freezer. Were compared with the cost of living crisis. 907 grams there. That's more than enough a session, trust me. Got some in the ground bait mix, which is Bailey's. Now this is for the bream and for the carp. And what I do for the carp, I squeeze it really hard. I put a few, what else did I throw in there? Because I'll get it soaking while I've been to interview Dave. They're these things. Right, now these have a nice smell to them. They're just called activated carp cell. They are a 6mm pellet. And I've bunged some of those in, but they won't stand out. You won't see them much in there. But they are in there. I thought it might give a bit of a smell to the ground bait. I have got this stuff, which is the Pacific Tuna liquid additive, which I will use for carping, but I'm not going to put in here because it's like gold dust. I love it. Now that's dried out since I've been talking to Dave, so that needs damping, you see, before I actually ball it and give it a bit of a pounding. But first, while I make up these balls and get them all ready for the catapult, let's go and listen to Dave, who's going to give us tips on match fishing type tactics with a swim feeder. Bearing in mind, we're only going to try and catch a bream or two. But I just said I'd chuck a carp rod out on the side. Yeah, I told you I'd get bored quickly. So Dave Roberts is here in the kiosk, and he's going to give me a little run through a rig, which I vaguely remember sort of a sliding feeder rig, and he remembered that, and he's got an adaptation of it whereby it should be anti-tangle free. So let's take a look at what Dave's done. So I've got a couple of different ones for you to have a look at, Dave. You know, you need your golf clubs with you. This is what a chap sent me about a dozen. Right. They're made out of the driving range balls, and I have caught on these at a border ground bait, but he's even put different weights in the bottom. He's glued in there. Yes. It's just nice to see something that's homemade. That's right. It's totally different, and the same principle of the hole. So you know, people can see there. Yeah. No, he's got a bit of tubing to protect the line through. Still put a stop on it, so it's not fixed. It's not. Yeah, it's a running one, isn't it? Yeah. That's right, a running rig, which is really good and safe. And obviously, it's on the principle of a method feeder, really. Yeah. There's feeders out there now, hybrid feeders, and that are flat based, and you put the bait in from the top. And they do work very, very well. And why not a homemade thing? And I know you're keen on this. Yeah, I've caught on those before. Yeah. I like those, and I think they would work. Something different. I'm awkward. I like doing it because it's different. Yes, of course. And you can't buy them. You can't buy them. You've got to make them. Yeah, no. But he took a lot of trouble gluing in the edges, different weights. He's centred in the middle there. Yes. I've got loads of them. Now, Dave, tell us on the lake, in your experience, or general stillwater fishing, what sort of bubbles do the bream give? Because I know perch can often give a bubble. We know tension carp do. The tension small. Yes. What would you be looking for? There's a telltale sign of bream in your swim. I think massive amounts of bubbles are probably wrong. There might be a big predator or something, an eel in the bottom, surging up, lots of mud and the bottom of the lake. But single pinprick type bubbles seem to denote fish feeding gently in the mud and in the bottom of the lake. You know, the big lake where we've got a lot of bream, pinprick bubbles will come up. Same in Milton, where crucians and tench feed quite carefully, you know, neatly. And again, they'll push up single bubbles or 2 or 3 at a time rather than a big mass. Well, not like say tench cloud that fizzes up. You're not going to get that. That's going to be tench and probably nothing else. And the big bubbles you see, that's more likely to be carp or big eel or something. There's often a problem with
fish actually going into the silt at the bottom of a lake, if you say put too much bait in and they start what we call gill feeding, and they start nosing into getting their heads in the silt and finding the bait that's dropped through in a soft bottom,
yes,
they become an absolute nightmare to hook, because you start getting foul hooked fish,
line bites we call them,
line bites and foul hookers, and obviously false bites.
Yes,
and if you get a false bite reading on your waggler or pole flow, it'll indicate, and you'll strike
and disturb the fish.
Hook them.
Yeah, and also spook them, can't you?
And spook them.
Yeah, I got
and
it.
There's no way around that. So if ever that happens to you and you're getting too many fish in one swim, you've got to start afresh on a new swim where you sat and start all over again.
That's strange, because when I, if I'm doing an all night for carp, I invariably take some bread. I haven't bought any for tonight, but if I throw bread out, I start getting beeps on the buzzer. And I thought, why are they not picking up? And what it is the carp are moving through my lines to get to the bread, giving me false alarms. And
well, hence the origin of backleads, I suppose. Some carp anglers, they pin it to the bottom. I mean, a normal latch angler, coarse angler tends to use a quiver tip, and it's not necessary.
Yeah.
But it can cause a lot of problems by getting the old days of swing tip fishing, you know, and they could then, with experience, learn to read a liner as opposed to a proper bite. As you do now on a quiver tip even. Yeah,
you can see it go down and it pings back.
That's right.
If it springs back, I feel it's the fish has moved through the line. It's come off his dorsal fin or
your hands, and you know, I call it pipe and slippers. You sit back waiting for a positive movement.
The holder, what I call it, holds it down.
That's right, holds it down, and sometimes with these hair rigs they hook it themselves.
Now I've got some corn, Dave. So I'm going to just have a go. I'm only having a quick go in the afternoon. What should I tip off with, maggots or worms? What would you say?
I think maggots might again attract smaller fish at this time of year, small roach, nuisance perch, and they can be a bit of a blooming, you know, headache as you're hooking small fish and getting false bites. So worms, a biggish medium dendrobina, that's nipped in half. You don't want too much of a worm on the hook, because it might take the tail end and not take the hook in. So sometimes I cut one in half, and you call it a dancing lady, where two bits of worm jiggle about. And they're
There's a totally awesome tip there, guys. A dancing lady. I've never met her, but she's popular.
That's right, yeah, and it emulates a couple of feet moving. Yeah. And obviously they'll take the whole bait, but rather than a great big one that's sort of dangling.
I'm trying that. I'm trying that this afternoon. There's another one. Yeah, good. That's a good idea, Dave. I appreciate that.
Great. And obviously, you know, some fish now are getting tuned into pellets.
Yeah.
The traditional now worm fishing, chop worm fishing as we call it, and maggot and caster, and that is dying away a little bit, and these fish are getting educated onto pellets and wafters and all these weird and wonderful coloured things that the manufacturers make, and they're very successful.
I know they catch on, but I find difficulty with the fluoro colours in my mind as an angler.
Yes, of course.
It bothers me. It just bothers me.
But they seem to be accepting it. Yeah. I know, and there's several companies out there do really high profile fluorescent ones that hurt the eyes, but they seem to be really popular now and catching a lot of fish, and you know, we're going away from traditional baits a bit.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go old school, and fingers crossed it's going to be sweet corn or worms, or your money back.
No, you're dead right. I mean,
that's what I'm going to stick with. Yeah.
We can get too complicated, and it's good to see you on your films be more traditional, making your own feeders like this gent's done it, and your own rod rests, etc. And you don't use flash gear, and it's ordinary gear that the everyday.
It's a bit at the end that matters, isn't it? Really, it's a bit at the end.
No, it's great, but you know, bream fishing was originally chop worm, bit of caster in there. You want a dead bait, so maybe a dead maggot or a caster. Doesn't get buried in the silt, it lies on the top because it's not wriggling. Maggots that wriggle might go in the mud. So, but worm and caster and worm and ground bait has been so traditional, so successful, it will never go away, and it'll always catch you a lot of fish, as you will here today at Berry Hill, I'm sure.
Fingers crossed.
You'll get fed up with dragging in bream, and you'll want to rest.
Thanks to Dave for giving us those fishing tips. I'm just going to walk around here because I've got my polarising glasses on. I'll see one or two moving around. If you do, I'm not fishing, I've got no rods in, you know, for the clipboard brigade, don't worry, there's no baits in the water. I'm just going to walk around this bay over here and have a look, see if I can see anything cruising, because a guy did give us a loaf of bread here spare. I think it's that sort of half and half stuff. It's not great for fishing, but free is free. Could pick a fish up. Can't put them in yet because the ducks will be all over me. Also, if you do go for a walk or see your friends, you bring your rods in, obviously. Make sure you cover up your ground bait and your bait, otherwise the geese and ducks are in, and you come back, you've got no bait left for the session. So make sure you put it in a decent sized bin when you maybe zip up your bivvy. So I don't think I've ever, other than during the night, caught carp off the top here on floater, but I have seen a couple cruising, one with his dorsal fin out, but I just can't get to them. I don't really want to go to a controller float because I don't like using them. I just only use a waggler float. But I'll just have a walk around because the sun's going round this way, so that's going to put the light behind me, and I won't get much chance to see if there's any fish over on that side, so I want to do that now before that light goes round in my eyes. Very often you can spot a fish cruising out there or just going along making a wake. Because once I start fishing I probably won't move on. I'll start fishing for the bream, and that'll be there. I'm using a quiver tip rod. This swim I fished here before. There's a carp there. Just there. Now I should have brought a rod and reel with me. I don't know if I can zoom in on that chappie. You may not think it's much, but it is 100% a carp. There. Now that guy wants a piece of floating crust on his nose. By the time I go and get my rod and reel and piece of bread, like that, he's gone down. But it's interesting. I might get something during the night. Again, if I hadn't walked around, I wouldn't have seen that fish. Beautiful old lake, it's over 200 years old. Just looking in here, there's a load of bubbles coming up. I don't know if you guys see them. There's the shadow line, just go out from there and you can see the bubbles. And some of those are still popping, so I reckon there could be a carp or even a shoulder bream along there. It could even be tench, but I don't think they're actual tench bubbles. Again, right under this tree here, you can see, right under the shelter of the tree, I could fish it from up there and put a bait down on the right hand side. It's something for the future. And bubbles are still popping there, so the fish are still down there. So what angler can walk straight across the bridge without looking in the water? Not many, I fear. That is such a fishy corner down there. See if I can zoom in for you. That's a big fish, that one. He's back out in the water. It's like a mirror carp by the scales. Yeah, I'm hoping the geese. I'm hoping the geese will all take off tonight and make a racket when they take off, but hopefully they're clear off. This is some bizarre colour. I don't know what that is. I've never seen that sort of colour green before. That's almost turquoise. Anybody know what that is? Bye. Thanks for going. Hope you get a peaceful night. That was weird, it's not been out there long. There could be a small skimmer actually put on the tail of the worm, I'm sure. What I did was see this just here, just do that, but actually miss seeing the bite, if there was indeed a bite. What I was going to say, what you can do is this. Get yourself a load of worms, perch fishermen do this, and just scissor them up into your mix and or your feeder. And you'll see they go absolutely, well, I'm not surprised they go schizo. That's standard for perch fishing, as you can see there. And also, if you're margin fishing, just scissor some up in it, then you want to retain your hook bait size the same as that. And you could even fish close in like this and fish for perch down there, and or I don't think the bream would come in that club. I'm pretty sure that's a bite. Maybe it was a line bite from a fish, that's what it was. So I can organise this setup so that I'm actually looking that way. So what there is a sort of gap in the weather I've got. We've had horrendous rain, under drought conditions first, then rain. Not as much rain by any stretch of the imagination as they forecast. A couple of little downpours, that was it. So still low water. But I heard on that big fish lake, they struggled there. That was last night, all week apparently. Somebody else just came round with a youngster and said they were on the other lake, and that was, no, I think it was Dave telling me that we didn't fish that well today. Still time to come, obviously. It's only 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I haven't had a bite. I've got the rods out, the quiver tips out. We were on a sort of a high pressure. Very little wind. You can see the clouds are just moving there, just drifting across. So I would have thought very good conditions. A little bit of willow blossom over on the back there, so you see it floating down through the air there. It's sticking over on the back. They stopped moving on the top, the 1 or 2 I did see, so I've not bothered. I'm rigged up there all ready for the night session, and I give it 3 or 4 hours on the bream here if I don't get the bream here, because I've never heard of them doing good matches down this end of the lake in this bay. Most of the match fishing's done way up there, 300 yards up that way, on what I call more the open bank. But for me, filming, this is nice and quiet, no people, planes, yes, no machinery going at the moment, the occasional duck. So good conditions for me filming, but might not be great conditions. And I'm fine with the carp here. I have no problem with carp in here at all. But it might be a fact that I have to, in the morning, if I don't get a bream here, late afternoon, I'm going to pack up after the carp session and go down on the, what I call the match stretch. Because don't forget, the matchman, they had a match here Wednesday. A lot of bait would have been thrown in. I'm guessing it would have pulled all the bream up there. I'm thinking, I don't know. Do they spread out? Do they cover the whole lake? I don't honestly know, to be honest. I have seen some bubbles, but not many. A couple of little tentative bangs on there. So I've now snapped the worm off even smaller to see if I can get a bite. And I've put this right hand rod over there where I baited up, and then on straight out. I've also eased back the quiver tip on both, so there's a bit of a slack line there almost. I get bored so quick, I think I'll have to put the kettle on or something, pass the time. As soon as I see them first bites, I'm okay. But when it's dead like this, you go, what else can I do? We all know what a flask of tea or a drink or a sandwich means. Hopefully a bite. Got a small fish on, boys, but my goodness me, it's been tough. I'm guessing it might be skimmer bream. Oh, there he's pulling. And that's casting round the right, yeah, small bream. Goodness me, it was a long time coming. Let's get him in. All the geese are gone, which is nice. There he is. Not a big fish, look. Of course he's not a big fish, but let's have a little look at you, buddy. It is the target species achieved. a nice bream. Like to catch a roach that big. And of course he is indeed covered in slime, as are my hands. So, a little section of worm. Did the job there. Yucky, yucky, yucky. Maybe we'll get just about to change and say, I'll put the other carp rod out. See, just a half section, as Dave said, just a half section of worm there. Just like a number 49 bus. I was just rigging up the other feeder there, you can see it. This one was a bobbling and a shaking. Same spot, casting over there towards the bridge. I'd say the same size actually. Just worm, no corn. I've taken the corn off now. There we go. Now fish this size generally be shoal fish, so they could have moved over that ground bait. And nothing on my carp right down the corner by the bush there. But I am here for the bream. I don't think there's many people fishing today. Right, let's get that one out again. I've had those 2 bream and now it's gone dead on me. So bearing in mind I'm sort of bream fishing where I'm going to put carp bait anyway. 1, 2, 3. I've had 2 fish over there, but I had quite a few bangs over there. I haven't had much in the middle. And the last time I carp fished here, I'm not sure I even got a fish in the middle there. It was right at the margin here, or round to the right past that tree. So I've now put both bream rods round there. But I'm only going to give it about an hour, guys, because I am here for a night carp session. And I don't want to miss out on anything, do I? You know, nothing on this one on the inside yet, but this venue's known for a sort of switch on at night. So I'll give it a little while longer here, maybe an hour. I might still switch back to the middle, but I've got 2 out there at the moment. Tiny bits of half section of worm on there, and it's tappity tap tap. It's not really what we call a pull down, where they pull it and just hold it for a second or 2. I've tried casting past the swim. If you cast past it and there's fish feeding between where you cast and where you're sitting, you'll get line bites. That generally is a pull down, but it twangs back to the same position. I haven't had that much, so just little tweaky bites. Equally, I've pushed one swim feeder on the inside of the baited area, and thinking I might, you know, be on the wrong side of the baited patch, and that's got nothing at the moment. But of course, they might be milling around eating where the balls of ground bait are. So, although we have the species, we don't have the numbers. I've heard no beepers go off on the big carp lake. Well, interesting conversation with the bailiffs just came round, and he was saying this is definitely not the bream end. You know, I said I've just had a couple of bream. So the bream are down on the match end. He said they won't move far from where they hold the match. All the matches are held up there, so the bait goes in. So I guess they tend to, you know, keep in that area which is 300 yards away. So what I'm going to do, guys, because I have noticed out of the 2 feeders, the enclosed plastic one, okay, and the open cage one, the open cage one is the one that's getting the, or was getting the bites and had those 2 bream. So I'm figuring it's empty much easier, and that's why I'm getting the bites on it. Even that stopped now. With the little plastic ones, it's not so good. Even when I'm out there, I've now got the plastic ones round here, and they're fishing side by side, okay? And definitely the open wire cage feeder, definitely I'm getting the bites and bangs on that one. Lesson learned. The other thing is, I think I'm going to call it quits on this, because I've got this carp film to make, hopefully tonight. I've just lost a carp, screamed on this inside rod by the bush, just ripping, picked up absolutely nothing. It just got the lead, everything back. So I'm figuring he bammed into the line and away he went. But you can see, by leaving that out, I could have gone from 0 to hero with 1 fish. Join me in the morning. Hopefully I get a couple of hours sleep in here tonight, and we'll go down on one of the other lakes. I think I'll try and finish off there, and we'll try these feeders side by side and see what we can get close into the margins. I might even fish bobbins with them. Well guys, as I suspected, it's not the same as it was last night. I put that ground bait in, had 40 minutes dozing and there's not a bubble there, and I've had the feed rod out with a worm on it, absolutely zero. So I've packed all my gear away, double barrel back to the car, get all my stuff back in the barrow, and then I'll go down to the other lake, see if we can't winkle a couple of fish out to salvage it. I'll show you margin fishing even with a swim feeder can be good. So I've come around the small lake ponds and trying to see if we can't catch something. Might get a roach. I don't know if we've got perch in here or not, I really don't. There's a quite big roach, which I think is a winter thing. And I'll just buy what they call the monk there, so not many people will probably want to fish here because it's snag. But I'm going to be margin fishing just down there. These are what I'm going to be using. Look, I'll show you what they are. They're just hair grips. Can you see that? Put it down there out of the wind. Just a hair grip with a spring, so I can spring it around the line like that, and easy to take up. And I've painted them with a bit of white to stand out. But I'm also going to back up with a couple of bite indicators if I'm filming or looking away. I'm filming something over there. The bait is, I've got no ground bait at all. I used it all on last night's carp fishing. I just got a loaf of bread that somebody gave Dave, and Dave gave to me, but it's a sort of half and half one, so it's no good for real surface fishing on the main lake. So I might be able to mush it up, which I've done, and I've put some 8mm pellets with it and some sweet corn, and obviously I've got plenty of Dave's worms there. Look at that lot. I'd love those if it's tench fishing time. Right, let's get something in the water. Any bread that does float, the ducks will pick off, and of course I can loose feed this if I want to. Yeah, straight onto that. Look, they love that. They can smell it. I'd leave about ½ an inch of worm above the eye of the hook. Just why I do it, I go through the middle, come out, and then just leave a tail at the bottom there. And if you put it like this, you can see there's a bit of wriggle at both ends with the hook in the middle. Now, the ground bait's not got any binding qualities to it, so the actual enclosed feeder, which wasn't very good last night, I don't feel, might actually come into its own here, because that'll grip the ground bait more. Always check your drag. I'll put that one on the inside. And you can see what I've got here, my setup. With the rod rest, the back rest, the butt rest, as I say, off the arm of my barrow. Let's put this on. You can just see the hair grip tension up there, and I've got it on back wind as well there. So the other cage feeder, as you can see, has got the worm there. It's sliding. More for casting this one. I'm going to be using it in the margins, I like being awkward. Just bosh there. Reasonable depth there actually. Now what you can do is just give it a jerk like this, watch. Just to break some of that food out, and distribute it, and it also straightens the the hook link out as well. On goes the clip. And sit back and await events. I pay you to always put the lid on the worms, and if it's raining they will be able to get out and wriggle up and get, and you'll lose all your worms. They'll go over the side of the tub. So put the lid on and then keep them somewhere cool under your seat, out the way. I'm going to put a little bit more food in because I don't intend being here more than 2 or 3 hours. Well, we just missed that one. That's what they call a buttering, it cracked right up. Could have been a roach, could be a roach, but it's nice to know that there is a bite there. Now, talking of bites, after last night's absolutely monumental carp fishing session, with 2 hours sleep, but barely that, I need to have something to eat. What's left? Oh no, it's a big pack of sandwiches, good old wifey. Corned beef and pickle. Whoa, that was nearly, did you see that? You want a nice big smooth confident take. Always when you get a sandwich in your hand, or a flask or a cup. There's a bite down there and a bite out there, but it could be roach. Come on guys. Oh, that is a real nice bream. Well, there you go. Even I'm surprised the target species achieved. There's so many carp in there. That's a nice colour gold bream. In good nicks. I don't think they have matches here, I'm not sure. Here we go. They're still just as slimy as the ones in the other lake. Nice to catch though. And I feel there might be a carp coming. So you can see, you can either go and buy some fancy bobbins, or you can go into Poundland and buy some kids' hair grips or whatever they are, and they do the same job. As does, and I have got some silver paper from sandwiches I had last night while I was carping. I fold it up and that will also work, but sometimes when you strike they ping off somewhere and you've got to go and hunt them down again. But these bobbins tend to stay where they are, and they're very, very light, so fish don't, you know, they can give you a real screaming take because they don't feel anything. Well, that is a really black looking fish, isn't it? I've caught these here before, that colour. Well, there you go. Carp and bream feeder, close in, worms. Well, you might have noticed on that right hand rod I've taken the big cage feeder off and I've put a twin of the enclosed feeder because the ground bait is soft. And I'm seriously thinking that is a cross between a roach that looks very, very hybridised to me. That dorsal fin looks very roachy. If that was a roach, my goodness me. It doesn't look right, that one. Does not look breamy. I hope I'm not just putting back a 2.5 pound roach. Well, the bites are slowed up because the wind has come right up. Clouds blowing away, so it's a very bright sky. And also it's creating a circulation effect here. And all the rubbish that comes off the trees, the dead leaves, catches on the line. So you get what we call single beat bites. And annoyingly, those single beat bites can keep putting the bobbin up and up and up. Whereas with the quiver tip, if I was using it, it pulls it round and round and round and then sort of stops. But this way, because I'm virtually free lining from here, there's so much slack line that that's a bite. Not quite. It'll be very touchy on both of them. And of course, when the fish bites the other end, he doesn't pull through to the bobbin. He pulls against the leaf or whatever rubbish is on the line. So he feels that resistance. So you get a lot of little false bites. Obviously, occasionally you'll get a complete slammer and either hook it or miss it. You can see it just gets single beeps there, just getting single beeps. And down here, I can actually see all the leaves moving past, but then I can see the leaf that's got my line there, just resting up against the line. So every time the wind picks up, that's putting pressure on that leaf and giving me a false bite like this here. So 5-minute warning, all the ground bait's gone in, and then I think we'll call it quits because I notice a lot of people just sitting around, nothing happening. Fabulous weather, but almost too good for fishing. So we're lucky to be able to show you those tips anyway.